You know how you follow that one person on social media and they seem so successful and they are doing all the things that you want to do and you want to figure out how to get to that point too? I can actually tell you how to do that. This is something that is requiring a little bit of work, but is actually very simple to do. All you have to do is study that person. You have to reverse engineer their success. Look at where they are now. You are not at the same place if you're trying to get to that place. They were once where you were. So you have to look at where they are and reverse engineer it back step by step to get to the point where they were at the point that you are at now. Then you can recreate their steps in your own fashion to get to the point that you want to be. We look ahead at people who are ahead of us in these industries and we think we're never going to get there. We want to get there, or we're trying to get there, but we don't necessarily know how. But you can watch what they did. Yes, it was a slightly different time. Yes, they had different things offered to them at those different times. Yes, they had different tools. But really, the steps that they took, the way that they did it, it can be reverse engineered and implemented into what you're doing now with the tools and technology that you have access to. So how do you do this? Well, at that point, I want you to go to their social media. I want you to look at their old social media. Yeah, you can go to their YouTube channel now. You can go to their TikTok, their Instagram. You can see what they're doing now. And you should be monitoring this. You should be watching this. You should be implementing some of those strategies into what you're doing too. But I want you to scroll back. I want you to go early stages. You are looking at the stage you're at now. Are you brand new? Are you a year into your business? What are you doing? Where are you? Go and find them at that stage. You can go back on their Facebook page, especially. Most people started out on Facebook. If you're looking at people who are successful now, you want to be heavily looking at their Facebook pages or Facebook groups or their YouTube pages. These are going to be your best sources of information, but you also want to look for like news articles, places they were teaching, things like that back in the day. And then I want you to track how they made their moves. You can even create a timeline of it. It depends on what type of person you are. I'm not necessarily the type of person who's going to track every single thing that they do, but I am going to look for those big milestones, those big stepping stones, and the decisions and the pivots that they made to get to where they are now. But if you were somebody who wants to really hone in on what they did and how they did it and the projected timeline in which they did it, make a list. Make a list of everything that you see. You can work from where they are now and go backward, or you can go back to the beginning and you can work forward. Whatever works best for you, but you're going to write down some of those big key things or the small things, and then you can actually find correlations between what they did and the steps that they took. So you are looking for what they did when they started and how did they get here. So I am picturing one of my mentors right now, somebody I really loved watching. We are on very much the same path in life. And so our businesses kind of parallel each other. It's really, really cool to see. And I can go back, she's a few years older than me, so she started a little bit before me, and I can see her stage versus my stage at the same points in our life. We were doing similar things, even though I was not watching what she was doing in order to do it. Our businesses really paralleled for a very long time, and I can track back what she was doing. So I would go back to the days she was teaching on a big, really cool internet platform, and she was doing all these really cool things, and I can watch the series of steps that she took from when I met her on these really big educational platforms to where she is today as a really cool business owner that is an entirely different industry. And we both started in this industry and changed to this industry independent of each other at the same times. And then she took some pivots that I didn't. I took some paths that she didn't. And we've kind of got interesting things that are related, but not the same going on right now. You can go back and you can track that. You can watch the ads that they placed on Facebook. You can watch their early YouTube videos. You even want to go and look at the way that they've changed how they speak and how they interact with people. I'm thinking very strongly of myself and very strongly of my mentor. When we both first started, we were a little bit stilted on camera, a little bit nervous. We were not as easygoing as we are now. We had personalities that were translated well on camera, but compared to what we do now, I can very clearly see, oh, you were a baby in an educational capacity, and you were a baby in YouTube, and you were a baby in live streaming, and you were a baby in filming, and now you are not. You are very well spoken, and you can get on any stage with zero prep time and give a full hour conversation. There is a transition. You can watch how I changed. In fact, if you want to follow what I'm doing, go back and look on my YouTube channel. I was in an interview this week and the person said, well, it looks like you've been doing this for 4 years, because the person checked my YouTube channel. I've been doing this for well over a decade and he just didn't track back far enough. But go to the beginning of my YouTube channel. You can see the difference. I actually have a video on my YouTube where I show one of my very first videos that I put out on YouTube on one of my other channels that I started off with. You can go back and see how my ability to speak has changed. The content that I talked about has changed. The way that I teach has changed. You can go through that evolution and you can mimic that. You can look at the decisions I made for my business, how I started small and I started doing these very niche things, and then I went more broad with the content that I was creating to reach more people and do more things. You can go back and track what I did to get to this point. If you think that you want to be what I am, or do the things that I do, or do it the way that I do it, you can figure out how I started like you and translated myself into what I am today. And you can do this with any of your mentors. So go back on their social media. Go back and see how they started and how things changed. And keep in mind, we now have more tools. We now have more opportunities on social media. We have things that we didn't have access to back then. And so you're going to have to pay attention to what we would have done. You're going to have to make some intuitive leaps here. When I first started, TikTok wasn't a thing. If TikTok was a thing back then, I would be so much bigger than I am now, because when I got on TikTok, I blew up in the industries. And so take what I was doing back then, but also figure in what's happening right now so that you can implement that into what you're doing. Just because I didn't have TikTok when I first started doesn't mean you shouldn't be using TikTok, doesn't mean you shouldn't be using Lemonade, doesn't mean you shouldn't be using whatever. Even back at the very beginning, YouTube wasn't as big of a thing. It is now, and it's so important to be on these platforms and interacting with these audiences depending on what your business is. So look at where they started. Track the changes they made, the steps that they took. You can create a baseline for you for when you want to make certain moves or goals inside of your business, or just to satisfy the fact that we all started somewhere and we had to grow to here, and maybe you're not on the same level as we are right now, but you want to get there. You have the ability to get there because you see where we came from. Reverse engineering your favorite mentors' businesses and lives is going to be incredibly influential in how you're making decisions on what you're doing in your business, how you're pivoting, and how you are creating. And I highly recommend that you do the deep dives on the people you respect the most, the people that you want to be, the people you are aspiring to work with one day, and then implement that into how you are creating your businesses and your content. Questions on this, go ahead and drop it down below. For more inspirational content, follow along, and for daily tips and tricks on how you can level up on social media and navigate the worry of how you are creating your social media to save time and effort and stress so you can make more money online but spend less time doing it, follow along, because we're dropping daily videos to help you level up on all the social platforms. I'll see you in the next episode.